If you enjoy these stories about humanity at its finest, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications.
The Galactic Council Chamber was a cathedral of polished obsidian and suspended nebulae, a place where ancient species debated the fate of star systems with the detached calm of gods. Today, the air crackled with an unusual tension. At the center of the chamber, bathed in the holographic glow of a rotating star map, stood Ambassador Threll, a crystalline being whose facets refracted light into 1,000 shifting rainbows. Beside him, Ambassador Kale, an amoeboid shapeshifter whose form rippled like liquid mercury, maintained a perfect stillness, a deliberate choice that unsettled the more rigid delegates. "The evidence is irrefutable," Threll announced, his voice chiming like wind chimes. Humanity's technological leaps, their unyielding resolve in the face of extinction, it mirrors the divine architects of the universe. They are not merely a species, they are a cosmic imperative. Kale's form wavered almost imperceptibly. To elevate them to divine status is a leap of logic even for this council. Their history is rife with self-destruction, their motives often opaque. Threll turned, his facets hardening. Their flaws are irrelevant. Their capacity for growth, for adaptation, is unprecedented. We must offer them our protection, our worship. The chamber erupted in murmurs, some of reverence, others of skepticism. No one noticed the subtle, almost imperceptible shift in Kale's form, a flicker of something ancient and hungry beneath the placid surface. The human delegation arrived not in a blaze of glory, but in a battered starship that looked like it had been cobbled together from scrap metal and stubbornness. Ambassador Elena Vance, a woman with eyes the color of storm clouds and a jaw set like granite, stepped onto the obsidian floor. Her suit was wrinkled, her posture defiant. "Ambassador Threll," she said, her voice cutting through the silence. "You seem to have us confused with someone else." Threll's facets brightened. "Your humility is as remarkable as your achievements. We recognize the spark of the creators within you." Elena's lip curled. "We're not creators. We're survivors. We fight because we have to, not because we're destined for anything." Kale, who had been observing her with unnerving intensity, finally spoke, his voice a low, fluid murmur. "Survivors are often the most dangerous. They adapt. They endure. They refuse to die." Elena's gaze narrowed. "Is that a threat?" Kale's form rippled, a brief, unsettling distortion. "An observation. Your species thrives on spite, a trait we have long since abandoned as inefficient." Elena's knuckles whitened around the datapad in her hand. "Maybe we haven't abandoned it. Maybe we've just gotten better at using it." The council members exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the unspoken tension crackling between them. The debate raged for cycles, each species taking sides, some pleading for humanity's elevation, others warning of the dangers of misplaced reverence. Elena listened, her expression unreadable, but her mind was racing. She had studied the council's history, the intricate web of alliances and betrayals that spanned millennia. And she had noticed something odd about Kale, the way his form sometimes hesitated, as if struggling to remember a shape it had long since forgotten. One evening, as the chamber emptied, she approached him. "Why are you so opposed to this?" she asked, her voice low. Kale's form shimmered, a brief flicker of something sharp and angular before smoothing back into its liquid state. "Opposed? I am merely pragmatic. Your species is a wild card, a variable that could destabilize the balance. Or restore it," Elena countered. "You've been in this council for centuries. Have you ever seen a species overcome the odds like we have?" Kale's silence was answer enough. "You've forgotten what it means to be alive," Elena said, turning to leave. "You've forgotten what it means to fight for something that matters." Kale's voice followed her, a whisper that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We remember too well. That is why we fear it." The vote was set. The council would decide humanity's fate, whether to be revered as gods or cast aside as primitives. Elena knew they were losing. The delegates swayed by Threll's impassioned pleas, blinded by their own awe. Desperation gnawed at her, a cold, sharp thing in her gut. She needed an edge, something the council couldn't ignore. That night, she hacked into the council's archives, digging through millennia of data, searching for a weakness. And she found it, not in the council's records, but in Kale's. Buried deep in encrypted files was a single, fragmented image, a geometric, multifaceted creature, sharp and angular, nothing like the amoeboid being who now sat in the council chamber. It was Kale's original form, a shape he had abandoned centuries ago when his species had chosen infiltration over confrontation. Elena's blood ran cold. The shapeshifters weren't just rivals. They were imposters, hiding in plain sight, their fear of humanity's raw, uncalculated fury driving their every move. The day of the vote arrived, the chamber thick with anticipation. Thrall stood ready to declare humanity's divinity, his facets blazing with triumph. Elena stepped forward, her datapad clutched in her hand. "Before you vote," she said, her voice ringing through the chamber, "you deserve the truth." She projected the image of Kale's original form onto the star map. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the delegates stared at the creature, so alien, so unlike the placid shapeshifter they knew. Kale's form convulsed, a violent, unnatural distortion that sent ripples through the obsidian floor. "What is this?" Thrall demanded, his chimes discordant. "This is what you are," Elena said, her gaze locked on Kale. "This is what you've hidden from everyone, including yourselves." Kale's voice was a strangled hiss, the first sign of panic she had ever seen from him. "We have evolved beyond such primitive forms." "Have you?" Elena countered, her voice rising. "Or have you just forgotten how to fight? How to be anything but parasites?" The chamber erupted in chaos, delegates scrambling to distance themselves from Kale, their trust shattered. Thrall stared at the image, then at Elena, his facets dimming. "If this is true, then your species, for all its flaws, is at least honest." Elena's lips curved into a thin, dangerous smile. "We don't need to be gods. We just need to be ourselves." The vote was unanimous. Humanity was not elevated to divine status, but neither were they cast aside. Instead, they were granted a seat at the council, a place earned not through worship, but through sheer, unyielding audacity. As Elena left the chamber, Kale intercepted her, his form still rippling with barely contained rage. "You think this is over?" he hissed. "We will adapt. We will endure." Elena turned, her eyes meeting his, and for the first time, she saw not a shapeshifter, but a creature terrified of its own irrelevance. "We know," she said, a flicker of something akin to pity in her voice. "And that's what scares you the most." She walked away, leaving Kale to his silent, seething fury, the galaxy forever changed by one species' refusal to be anything but human.